Hello, it's Rob from Fountain Pen Journey again, and I'm just going to talk about, if you like, it's a bit of a quick video just to go through what happens when you start getting into fountain pens. First of all, I discussed this in my first video, Introduction to my Fountain Pen Journey. It's the Jinhao Golden Dragon pen, the silver version. This was what got me into fountain pens, because it will get you noticed. There is no doubt about it. This is quite a, well, garish pen. It is not a bad writer. It's not a great writer. It's not something I would certainly say, yes, get this as your first pen. But it got me into fountain pens because, my God, it is unusual. This is no standard ballpoint pen that you will use in the office. This thing will get you noticed, and it certainly did with me. In a meeting, perhaps not quite as formal as I would like, so I started looking online. And you've seen this pen before, one of my favourites. I know it's only a cheap one, but it's the Jinhao X450 in marble blue. And it's a great little pen for £1, or a few pounds on eBay. It's a lovely looking pen. It's very, very weighty without being stupidly heavy. It's got a lovely gold plated nib with a bit of silver on there, and it writes quite well. It does have a habit of halfway down a page running a bit dry, but it still writes. It starts to skip a little bit towards the end, but you know, for just taking notes in the office, making a few impromptu notes, it's a good little pen. And it's available in all sorts of colours. And as soon as you start looking at Jinhao as a manufacturer on eBay, Jinhao fountain pen, just stick that into eBay and you will see loads of these Chinese pens around. Here's a few examples. I've also got one or two other pens in here, but we'll talk about those in a minute. This is not my extensive collection. I've got pens in drawers, I've got pens in little boxes, in holders. Currently inked pens. Yes, a little desk holder filled with pens, most of which have inked up, or are inked up, and these are the ones that I'm messing around with, trialling, maybe just getting a feel for. At some point I'll probably review these, so stay tuned. So, fountain pens, it turned into a bit of an obsession. I bought this after the Dragon pen, and then before I knew it, I was buying all the Jinhao X450s in the various colour variations. Grey and white marble. Things like the blue and white porcelain fountain pen I covered in my introductory video. It's a great looking pen. Does not write at all. It needs some work on it, so it's not the greatest pen. It's a bit of a disappointment, to be honest. These Bauer pens, which are Parker knockoffs, green marble. To me it looks like the mineral malachite, with these green and dark green striations through the barrel and the cap. I haven't inked this up, mainly because I use the Bauer, this is the Aurora Borealis fountain pen, and it's got this lovely chatoyancy, pearlescence in the cap and the barrel. It's quite a thin pen, not really as thick as I would like it to be, but it is a lovely, lovely pen. Quite a thin section, looks great, but it burps ink. I don't know why. The feed probably needs looking at. You can't remove the feed as far as I'm aware, not without doing some damage to it, so I've kept this as just a pen that I enjoy looking at because of the colours. The Aurora Borealis is something I'm particularly fond of. I've been to Norway several times over the years, photographed it, never fails to impress, so I had to have a pen which was called Aurora Borealis with these colours in. I love chatoyant pens. Anything where there's a play of colour and the light variation on there always gets my sort of collecting spirit flowing again. So in here whole range of pens. So you start off with the cheap Jinhaos, Jinhao X450s, 950s, things like that. And then you start finding other pens on eBay. This is a Wingsong, very cheap pen. I bought 5 colours of these in a job lot from China. All of these pens come directly from China because, quite honestly, I'd sooner wait 3 or 4 weeks for the things to be delivered than pay an extra, I don't know, 75% or more just to get the pen, maybe from the UK. This pen, Progression. It's not a great pen, but it's a cheap pen. It's a Chinese pen. It forms part of my fountain pen journey. So in this box, which of course, yeah, once again, you start off on a fountain pen journey, you get into the hobby, you collect them, you end up buying a case. Keeps the pens safe, all clean, tidy, you know, they're not rattling around, banging against each other. So I think I paid £27 for this from Amazon. Not easy to find, but it's brand new and it works a treat, keeps all the pens safe. These are not expensive pens, but, you know, this is my journey. I'm sure at some point in the future these things will all end up in special little drawers, probably wrapped up in tissue paper or something, keep them safe. And this pen case will be populated with more expensive pens, but I'm a long way off that yet. So, after the cheap Chinese pens, start getting into the slightly more expensive Chinese pens. So, you start looking towards things which have got different materials. I particularly like acrylics, the old sort of, I don't know, 50s, 30s era acrylics. This has got wonderful chatoyancy. I'll talk about all these pens, most of these pens in more depth throughout my fountain pen journey videos. And, okay, there we go. And you can't help it. You just see a pen and you think, oh, that's nice. And as part of this journey, as long as it's not going to cost me more than £50, I'm quite happy. This one, yet another Jinhao porcelain pen. It looks lovely. I'm not saying it's my particular style. I don't think I'd use this at work, but it's a lovely looking pen. And then you start getting into the whole hobby even further. I mean, things like this, Jinhao X950, silver, gold clip. It's a very business-like pen, and I happily use this one at work. It looks good. It's not too outlandish. If you like, the colours are very similar to the Golden Dragon pen, but it's completely understated. It looks far more professional, and it will still get you noticed, which is, if you like, part of the appeal of fountain pens. So that is just a brief overview. It's not my collection, it's not the full thing. I will talk about things, the other pens that I have in my collection. I'll do a few pen reviews, things like that. I will talk about this little pen at some point. It is a Kaweco rip-off from China. I don't know whether you can see, let's pull the clip up a bit, there we go. War and Peace. This is the Delight Classic Alpha brass fountain pen. It's a pocket pen. It's based, very, very much based, if not a complete copy, of the Kaweco All Sport. It's the metal version of the Kaweco Sport pen. And I love this pen. I have yet to put ink in it. I just love it. It's a little brass thing. It reminds me of something you'd find on a ship. I love nautical stuff, and this is a very nautical looking pen. I have absolutely no idea why they choose to engrave it with War and Peace. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because I certainly wouldn't want to write War and Peace with this fountain pen. It's all brass, unscrews. you've got wonderful little brass section. It's all brushed. It is lacquered, so you know it's not going to tarnish easily. Got a nice little nib, and being a pocket pen, yes, as you can see, it does actually fit in my hand. I can use this little pen unposted. That's without the cap, I can use it, but it is designed to be posted. And it's a very comfortable, good looking pen. It looks great. It comes with, from the manufacturer, D-Like, just unscrew this, lovely metal barrel. It comes with its own cartridge converter, so you can use any ink, which is great. And one of the reasons that my fountain pen journey really does revolve around, if you like, cheap Chinese pens. Just cap that again, screw cap, not a pull off cap, one piece. One of the reasons that I do like these cheap Chinese pens is that they almost all, I haven't found one which doesn't, this one may not do, but it's got its own included cartridge converter. They all take standard international cartridge converters or cartridges, which is for me absolutely fundamental. I like things to work. I don't want to spend money on a fountain pen and find that, oh, I've just spent, I don't know, less than 50, call it 50 to £100 on a fountain pen. Oh, I can't use it because there are no cartridges that fit it. It's all proprietary. And I am talking about the main manufacturers. You'll hear a lot of beginners, they always get into the Lamy Safari. Very, very popular pen. And quite honestly, it doesn't take standard international cartridges. It takes Lamy cartridges. And it's annoying. I don't want to be tied into the, I don't know, 10 or 20 different types of different colours of inks that a particular pen manufacturer supplies because they come in a special shaped cartridge. I don't want to have to buy a cartridge converter for that pen. If this was a Lamy Safari, I'd expect it to come with a cartridge converter, which I can use. I don't want to spend an extra up to £10 or more just so I can use any bottled ink with it. It just seems like a bit of a rip-off. And this is where my fountain pen journey really does revolve around, if you like, finding out what's good value and whether it really is. I mean, obviously, if you're going to spend £10 on a Jinhao porcelain blue and white fountain pen that doesn't work, that's not good value. Might be a nice looking pen, but this one just does not write. It doesn't write. It needs work on it. That's no good. So I don't want to spend good money on a fountain pen and find that it needs some sort of, I don't know, extra special cartridge, or you can only buy certain types of ink cartridge to go with it. It annoys me. I like to be able to write with something out of the box, or at least be able to sort of have a choice. And this is where things like piston fillers can come in, and the different types of filling mechanism, very important. But once again, you're into a little bit more of engineering. So you've got to know how to fill it, you've got to know how to maintain the filling mechanism, clean the pen. You might even have to take the thing apart with specialist tools, which are usually supplied. But it's all a bit of a faff. Fountain pens, yes, there is a little bit more work involved with owning a fountain pen than there would be with any sort of ballpoint. But why not? A little bit of work, no problem. A lot of work, well, maybe something for my fountain pen journey later down the line. So this is what I got into, collecting them. I love the different colours. I like to be able to go to work and take a red pen, a black pen, a blue pen, and a green pen as the absolute minimum colours, just even for a bit of variety. But to take some sort of more detailed notes, I might need to make bullet points. I might need to make a bullet journal, if you like. Have a look at bullet journaling online. Just Google the term and you'll see how people are using paper journals to reorganise their lives. Something you can't do on a mobile phone quite as well. It does the job, it does everything. But there are times when, you know, you might need to make notes in a meeting. You can't use a mobile phone. You can, but quite honestly, if I sat in a meeting and sat there sort of tapping away and trying to swipe notes into, say, Google Keep or OneNote from Microsoft, yeah, I wouldn't be very popular. It doesn't look professional. I can't take those notes quickly enough. I can't make them detailed enough. Spell check, automatic word prediction, autocorrect can all send all sorts of horrible messages into my notes. So if I can use a pen and paper, you know, things are... we're not in a paperless office, and I don't think we ever will be. If you use a fountain pen, you'll be desperate not to use electronic forms of communication. You will be amazed, if you get into this hobby, how much more time you spend writing, because it is enjoyable. Writing with a pen is a lovely thing. When you start putting that ink down on the paper and it's your favourite colour and you're getting all sorts of different line variation, all sorts of different shading from the ink, it's a beautiful thing. So please do join me on this fountain pen journey as we explore pens and inks. I would also say paper, but quite honestly, I'm not into that yet. I'm a long way off exploring different types of paper in my fountain pen journey. I'm just into the pens. This is how I got into it. You buy one pen, then another pen, then another, then another, and another, and you keep loving it, and you think, right, okay, I've got all these pens. I'm not physically able to find time to use them all. So you will find ways of using them, even if it's just scrolling on a post-it note. Stick it up on the fridge or something like that. You will get into it. There's so many, I mean, you can see here, there are so many different colours and designs, and these are just, if you like, two manufacturers. Chinese pen manufacturers, Jinhao, Bauer. Okay, admittedly there's also Kaigaloo here, which is another Chinese manufacturer. I'll just show you this one. Kaigaloo Tiger Eye. It's got quite a... I'll try and get this in focus, there we go. It's got quite an interesting finish. All these little mosaic inlaid... It's not Tiger Eye, it's just some acrylic material that's cut into layers, but it looks like the mineral Tiger Eye. I love it. Chatoyant pens. They are fantastic looking pens. There is no way that you can't say this is an interesting pen. It might not be to your personal taste, but there is a pen out there for everybody. Doesn't matter how big or small. I mentioned this one before, the Pilot Petit 3. Tiny little plastic pocket pen. Cheap. I bought this from Malaysia for about £2.55. I don't have any Pilot pens. I didn't have any Pilot pens until this. And this thing arrived in the post, and I think what happened was I happened to be watching YouTube videos, reviews of fountain pens, and I wanted to get into using a pen as an eyedropper. I'll explain more about that in another video, but it's basically where, rather than using a standard international converter, such as this one, inside, you know, to fill the ink, so you can choose whatever ink you like, rather than using one of those or a cartridge, the entire body of the fountain pen you fill with ink. Something tells me I'm going to make a hell of a mess and my wife will not be happy about it, but you know, I saw these little pens in a video mentioned in YouTube or looking at some information online, and these things turned up. Maybe I was having a drink when I was watching it and just went straight onto eBay afterwards and did a search for the Pilot Petit 3, and two of these things came in the post. I didn't remember ordering them. I didn't even look at them when I ordered them. The first impressions were, oh god, it's really, really cheap, very plasticky, very brittle clip, very cheap looking pen, Petit 3. And it's a tiny, cute little pen, very cute little pen. I can even write with this on post-it. It actually fits in my hands. I'll just state, I've got size 8.5 hands. Not massive, medium to large, Certainly I'd take large pairs of gloves. This fits in my hand, unposted. Posts lovely, just pops onto there, and it's a lovely little pen. It looks awful. The section, this bit here, is straight. There's nothing about it, and there is a really sharp edge here, and there's a really sharp edge down here, but obviously your hand doesn't go all the way down to the nib. It's not the most comfortable to hold. The nib looks absolutely shocking. It just looks like a piece of flat metal folded into wings at the side, but I'll talk about this pen more in another video. It's quite a good little pen, and I bought this solely for the purpose that you can eyedropper it easily. And by eyedroppering, I mean taking off. In fact, you know what? I'll demonstrate using a different one of these. It's exactly the same pen, Pilot Petit 3. This has got a Fude nib, which means brush, which, to be absolutely honest, disappointed the hell out of me when it turned up, because it looks like a felt tip. There is a bit of snobbery going on, maybe, that I don't know about. Fude nib? It's a felt tip. Come on. There's got to be more to it than that. Maybe I've just been ripped off or something, but quite honestly, Fude nibs, I expected a little bit more. Now, these two pens, I paid £2.55 each for them from Malaysia, and they come with Pilot's very own proprietary, only fits this pen, I believe, little cartridge filled with blue-black ink, which I must admit is actually quite a good blue-black ink, and you pop off this yellow protective cap. I mean, the way these things are shipped, barrel screwed on up to a point, it doesn't go any further, or otherwise the thing would open, the converter, the cartridge would be open in transit and there'd be ink all over the place. So you have to take this yellow thing off, just pull it off, push it into the pen, and it ruptures the seal, ink flows down through the feed to the nib. That's all there is to it. And I bought these because you can eyedropper them. Eyedroppering, by the way, only apparently works where you've got plastic. Won't work on metal section pens. So if you've got metal threads or a metal barrel, there's metal threads inside, it will not work. You need plastic on plastic, and you need to use some silicone grease smeared all around the threads to provide a good seal, so the thing won't leak ink all over the shop. That's the theory. I haven't done it, so that's part of my fountain pen journey. That will be a video for another day. I will record the full thing. So if it goes all horribly wrong, you will see it. You will learn with me how to eyedropper a pen. That's the reason I bought these. Cute little pens. Eyedropper. Fill the whole thing with ink. This thing, the little cartridge in there, holds, I think, 0.8 of a mil of ink. Probably enough for, I don't know, maybe 10 to 12 pages of fairly intensive writing. Not a lot. If you look at the standard international cartridge converter that come supplied with the Jinhao pens, you're looking at maybe 1 mil of ink. So this thing, if I'm writing with this at work, I'll probably write with it all week, maybe get 2-3 weeks writing out of one ink fill. So it's very economical, especially if you're using bottled ink. But if you're eyedroppering a pen, filling the entire barrel, and this is a very small barrel, so if you can imagine something a little bit more substantial, such as this Wingsong, filling this whole thing with ink, that's an awful lot of ink. That is, we're talking ink that will keep you writing for weeks. And certainly, if you're going into some sort of exam where you're having to write page after page after page, yes. But you also want reliability. So this is where I will review pens and I'll talk about the reliability. What I like about them, yes, again, one of my favourites. I like it a lot, but you write with it and it goes dry about halfway through the page. Doesn't start skipping too much. It does, but, you know, it's not the greatest of writers. And this is what I'm discovering. As lovely as this collection of pens are, it's a collection. Some of these pens, chances are, I'll ink them up, use them for a bit, and then I'll probably de-ink them or use up the ink and never write with them again. Simply because there are better pens out there for writing. So please do stick with me. Click subscribe if you want to be notified when the next video goes up. And thanks very much for watching my fountain pen journey. See you next time. Bye.